everyone. My name is Nyemade, and I am a volunteer with I Am My Sister's Keeper. And this is Moments with I Am My Sister's Keeper. Now, I know you're used to seeing me with some women and girls because that is what the program is for. But as we know, as a society, the men play a large role in helping us and supporting us. So recently, I Am My Sister's Keeper had an event called From the Male's Perspective, where they got some male members of the community together to speak with the girls and to share their insights and their support and how they can help guide women and support women. So I'm really excited that 3 of the speakers from the event are joining me today. I have Kenneth Cunningham, Kayvon Truman, and Tyrone Jones. Would the 3 of you like to introduce yourselves and tell everyone a little bit about you?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm Kayvon Truman, and I am the curator and creator of a brand called the Brothers Brunch, where we pour into men so that they can show up as better husbands, fathers, and friends. 3 ingredients: cuisine, culture, and connection. Happy to be here.
Nice, thank you.
Greetings, Tyrone Jones. I am a father of 4, grandfather of 3. And I just so happen to have a professional career that allows me to focus on public.
Oh, we lost him. Hopefully be back soon. Kenneth?
I'm the principal of Parkway Academy North Alternative School. Father of 4 children, young ladies who have either graduated or matriculated from MSK or.
Oh, awesome. And Tyrone, it cut off. Did you want to finish your?
No, I'm finished, and I apologize for that. There's something seems to be wrong with my Zoom.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, the internet's been a little bit wonky lately. So first of all, you all participated in the event From a Male's Perspective. Now I know with I Am My Sister's Keeper, this year we have our theme of Live, Laugh, Love. And Ms. Charlotte asked everyone to speak to one or all of those things. Did you each have a word that you chose to speak on out of those 3? And if so, like, what was the message you shared?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to impress upon our young ladies is how much they contribute to the growth and development of us as men, particularly because all of us have come from a mother's womb. And the importance of us being able to make sure that our women feel secure and feel like queens.
Absolutely, that's very important because the more supported women feel, it becomes like a cycle, right? If we feel supported, then we support the men in our lives and vice versa.
Yeah, so it's funny. I think I did maybe, I don't remember how many, but I think it was 21 gems, if you will. And so I definitely can't recite any of those right now because I had a little cheat sheet. But what I will say is that, I basically told the young ladies, I wanted to just give them gems. I am a father of 2. My daughter happens to be 13. And I wanted them to know that, that it was important to understand that their worth and understand that they were what they were called to do, and realizing that, you can't really fix what you're not willing to face in life, and that all the challenges that they were going to encounter essentially were necessary, right? And necessary for kind of that next level. So the gems kind of spoke to that, and that's pretty much the high level of that.
I love that.
Yeah, I spoke on all 3, but I think the most poignant part, or the point that I wanted to impress upon them the most, was fly. First, love yourself. I think everything starts there. And I think it's so important for us to pour into our young ladies and make sure they see their worth. There was a point there where one of the brothers was talking to the young ladies, and they were asking them the things they liked about themselves. And it was a bit of a struggle there. And I get it, they're young, and kind of got put on the spot. But I think we'd all love for everyone to be able to just jump right all over that question, and we'd have to stop them from listing the things that they love about themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely something that we try to work on with the girls, especially like the first of each month. We have our confidence club, where we try to instill those things in them to feel better about them. Because the more confidence you have, the easier it is to move through life, to try new things, to speak to new people. How did you all feel the event went overall? Like, what was your takeaway from it, as far as a panel member speaking to the girls, and what you thought the reception you received from the girls?
Overall, we received a relatively good reception from the young ladies. I think they were very attentive, and that's because I think we as men came in and were very attentive to them. We saw.
Oh no, we've lost him. He'll be back.
Right. No, I agree with him. I think they were very attentive. They were participating very well. I think that it was just overall a very powerful program. I haven't seen many situations where you had that many gentlemen just pouring into young females that way and showing them how important they were. So that probably was the most powerful part of it for me, for them to see that they are supported by gentlemen who look like them. Mr. Jones, I know you got cut off. Want to throw it back to you so you can finish up, buddy.
And let me just apologize. I don't know what's going on with this system, but if it happens again, I'm just going to take myself out. But just real quick, I mean, I just thought that they were in.
Oh no. Okay, we've lost him again. It's like technology. It's wonderful and awful at the same time.
Oh man, who you telling? That's Pop to me. That's my spiritual Pop. So I appreciate him. Todd, do you want to go again?
Not really.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What I'll say is I'll take it from a different angle. I thought it was explosive. I thought the young ladies were attentive. I think those of us who had our daughters in the room, I think it hit different. So if I had to do it all over again, I would have asked if that was something I was able to do. Is to just, because my daughter isn't a part of the program, but I think my daughter's 13, so she's in that lane. And I think that seeing Daddy, she only knows me from one perspective, but seeing it on the other side, that would have been a beautiful thing for both of us involved. And then the other piece is I get the chance to sit under the tutelage of so many dynamic brothers that it almost saddened me that I had to leave and not really feel a connection with those brothers. So my connection in that commonality was us being present and being in the moment, but there wasn't an intentional way for us to really, unless we decided to like be intentional about staying in touch, there wasn't a space for us to do that. And so for me, I was so excited about being around not just 1, 2, 3, or 4, but brothers that were like, yo, like these guys are really dope. I didn't get a chance to really to really sit in that and breathe with that. And that's something I would have loved to embody.
Yeah, and that's great feedback for future events, because hopefully we'll do this again in the future because it was so well received.
Real quick, I just wanted to support what Brother Kavan just shared. I had 2 daughters in the room, and I know for me, prepping for it, I was very cognizant of that. And because I wanted them, they see me as daddy, but to see me on that platform and being able to speak that way, I thought it was very powerful. And it was a motivating factor for me to make sure I put my best foot forward so that I represented them well. So I think that was an excellent point, and I would definitely encourage you to make sure she's in the room when you do stuff like that, man. It's special. They need to see us in that light.
Oh yeah.
On a more consistent basis. It cannot be just a one and done. I think that's what we oftentimes do, is we get engaged for a period of time, but then we lose the momentum and the steam that brought us all together. And I think each one of us as men could sharpen each other as we move forward, as not just in terms of being in a an environment like that. But even as men, as we're raising our own daughters, as we are, loving our own wives, we need to be able to help build ourselves up as we move forward.
Yes, absolutely. You mentioned with loving your own wives and your daughters and supporting them. I think it's great that the women in your life have such great role models and people to take care of them. What do you think, you personally is, I don't want to say necessarily like the role, but almost the role, the importance of having some form of male role model, even if it's not your father, but having some sort of role model in the lives of girls?
I think many of us have surrogate fathers, mentors, individuals that have poured into our lives, and poured in at the most challenging moments in our lives. So that helps sharpen us. The experience of going through a situation allows for you to be that much more wise in terms of how you communicate to others, because you're not just talking off the cuff, you're talking from experience. And being able to leverage that experience helps, others to be able to see the universe for what it is from a male's perspective. It's not, there's challenges that we as men, Black men, face on a daily basis that people are not going to understand but us. But also our women, have to understand that as well. So we need to figure out, how do we communicate that? How do we share that, the challenges that we undergo on a daily basis, and just figure out how to make sure that when we do communicate, we're doing it out of love and not out of, any animosity or anger or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and that's,
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
You
go
got
ahead.
it. No, I was just going to say, I don't have much to add to that. The only thing I would say is it's just important for women from all walks of life and all ages to see men as happy, healthy, and whole. I think that, there's a lot of trauma that's not dealt with in our communities. I think a lot of men, and I'm in the work, I do work with men. So what I'm finding is that a lot of us suffer in silence and we're not communicating. And so it's important to, particularly spaces like this, for women to sit in that, to hear us talk, to hear us communicate. But, to answer your question directly, how important it is for men to be present, I just think it's super important. But I think I want to be clear on our presence and how our presence can be positive, but it can also have an adverse effect if we don't do the proper work required for us to show up as the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah, that's very, very important. Kenneth, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think it's imperative that they see positive male role models. Again, I mentioned this earlier, that look like them. With media, we're depicted a certain way a lot of times, especially as, absentee, and there are a lot of statistics that support that. So I think it's important that we show up and we show out for our young ladies, so that they see that not only are there people gentlemen out there who look like them, who care about them, but I think one of the most powerful parts about it, with all the different types of gentlemen there who are in all different walks of life, we were all three-dimensional. So, we weren't in there trying to act like we were perfect. And I think that's so important for them to realize we're human, but we still care, and we can recover from any mistakes that have been made, because a lot of time was spent talking to the young ladies about, fathers who may not have been there for them, and trying to help them understand that a little better, and, what might be the cause of that. So I think that it's just something that we do have to continuously do, because they need to see that, because they have so many different examples of negative male role models. So it was just so powerful to have so many positive gentlemen there.
Yes, absolutely. And, you all make really good points about, having someone who looks like them, supporting them, and making sure that the men in their lives are also people who are doing the work themselves, which is important as well. And you also mentioned us just supporting supporting the men. And the thing about having men in our lives who look like us, Black men, is that we know that it's not easy for you out there, right? Like overall, there's the struggles of being a Black man. There's the added pressures that come from outdoors, whether it's with your friends or society or different things. And we try to support that, especially as women, as best we can. And I think sometimes we think a lot about the support needed when you become an adult, right? So supporting the men in our lives as adults. But really, it's good to have that message with the younger girls as well, because you start dating in middle school, high school for most girls. And the struggle, like, it's not like the boys are roaming through life easy breezy until they get an adult. So it often falls on us, even as teen girls, to support the guys and be there for the guys. And I know that that's one of the reasons they put together this forum, is because Wilmington especially has had, some gun violence and different issues and concerns. And it's the hope that we can also help support, like when we get the pouring in from the men who are there to the young girls, that they can also help to pour in and be persuasive to the men in their life, the teenage men in their lives, and helping to make good decisions as well. Is that something that you guys talked about, or is that something you'd like to speak about a little bit now, which is how at a younger age you can support? If you guys remember way back to being teenagers, like, can you think of like what support could have looked like for you from the younger women in your life?
That's an interesting conversation to have, because sometimes we got to go back, and I think Kayvon alluded to this in terms of the trauma that goes unspoken. Particularly if, my mom and dad divorced when I was 5 years old, and I lived with my father. So I didn't have mama there on a consistent basis from 5 all the way up to 18. Mm-hmm. I had grandmom there. Grandmom was my image of a woman at that moment in time, although I love my mother dearly. But I didn't have mom there 24/7. So I think, young people, and particularly ourselves, we need to understand exactly, how do we see women, and then how did we evolve over time to be able to see the value of every woman that comes into our life. And that's a deep reflection that has to take place on the part of each and every one of us as men, as we are continuing to cultivate our relationships with those who we're able to be surrounded by. So it's an ongoing process, and I'd love for us to be able to talk about that as a group. But I'd also like the young ladies to potentially bring their fathers. Next time we get together, bring that male figure in their life to that male session, so that we could have an engaged conversation with that person and have them speak to some of the challenges or even the opportunities that they see in loving their daughters in a more perfect way.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Definitely.
Yeah, I think on a very practical level, it's necessary to continue this conversation with them so that they can have the opportunity to ask questions. Try to understand where the young men are at that certain point in their life, right? Again, I have 3 daughters. So I hope and I pray that whenever something comes up, they feel comfortable enough to come to daddy and we can talk about it and have a real conversation. And that was one of the things that impressed me the most about from a male's perspective. There was some real talk going on there. Mm. I think that it probably needs to be broken down into smaller sessions so that we can really get to the meat of some things. But I think that's very powerful for the young ladies to have males that they can bounce things off of, especially the ones who don't have those males consistently in their life, because it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Back on camera, Kayvon?
Yes. I think I need you to repeat the question.
Oh, I was just asking, what was the question? I was just asking for girls trying to support the younger boys in their life. So like they're teenagers dealing with teenage men, especially because we know guys don't really like talking that much that age, and they're not really like encouraged as they should be to be more to express more emotion. What's some advice that you could give to girls to be supportive of the boys in their life at that age?
Yeah, I think I'm going to throw back to you as an answer something that I've learned a long time ago in marriage that I think is applicable in communication in general, and it's active listening. In terms of, I think, and I say this all the time, when because brothers tend not to, and it's something we have to unlearn, and as adults we've been able to do that, but we don't talk, we don't communicate, and so when brothers are talking, and they are communicating, rather, I think we should listen, and actively listen. And when I say that, communication is not always what we say, is actually what we do. And I think that's a part of men. We are communicating all day long. Oftentimes, like if you really pay attention, it's very clear in terms of how we show up in the world, because oftentimes our actions, particularly when we've not dealt with some things, oftentimes our actions are telling you the entire story. You just have to pay attention. And so what I would say is, while that's important, that's a lot of responsibility, and it's a huge weight to put on another human being. And I think sometimes we get stuck in that. And so fast forward, you have girls that become women who are dealing with men who are really boys that haven't dealt with their stuff, right? And so while it's important to actively listen to us and to give us something called grace, I think it's equally important to hold us accountable for how we show up in the world, because it's not a woman's responsibility to get us there, if that makes any sense. And that's something that we all have to unlearn.
That is such an excellent point, because I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with, both men and women, is how do you give the grace and how do you have the support, but how do you also not take the weight of their issues that they need to work on and put it on your shoulder? And I know it's definitely something as women we need to work on, and also with girls as they grow up, to let them know that they can be the support but not take all of that pressure on their shoulders. So that's an excellent point. Thank you all so much for joining. I just have, just another one last question, which is, because I'm sure there was something that drove, actually it's a two-part question, that drove you to participate with this event. So my final question is just what was that? And what do you hope was the overall message that the girls received at the end of it?
For me, I mean, Miss Lacey, we call her Mama Lacey. She asked me to speak there. So I was honored to do that. And again, we talked about this earlier, for my daughters to see me in a different light. That motivated me very much. And I think overall, the message was they matter. They matter. Mm-hmm. And I think that point was driven home in an excellent way. And they need to continue to hear that they matter.
Absolutely.
And for me, it was, I was blessed to be able to be one of the first speakers that participated with my Sister's Keeper when it first opened their doors. And, it was an honor to be asked, and I was humbled to be asked to be a part of this once again. And it's because of the organization. It's because when you say I'm my sister's keeper, it's genuine. And you have sisters who are individuals who are part of the organization, who are living, what it is that they're asking these young ladies to do. So there's no phoniness about it. So I'd rather be engaged with somebody who's genuine versus just going and speaking in front of X number of people and not necessarily knowing whether or not they receive it because of the people that are around them. They received what it is that we shared because of the ladies and the organization as a whole. They are true and they are genuine. And Miss Lacey, as the founder of the organization, has maintained that throughout time. Some people lose it, but she's maintained it over time.
Yes, she's excellent. Yes, very good point.
Yeah, I'd say I echo all of those sentiments. I am a super fan of Miss Lacey. There's not much she can ask of me that I will not say yes to. That's number one. But number two, the mission of the organization, who can argue with it. You know, for someone who is running a nonprofit for men, which there's a component that I know I need to get to these young guys. I see what she does with the young ladies and how it's all operationalized, and I'm just in awe. And so it continues to inspire me. And again, it's just really the brand, and not only the brand, but how intentional and how consistent it's all been. I'm incredibly like grateful to be asked, and to see that she like sees something in me that she's okay with me putting in front of young women, right? Because every brother that spoke that day, it all clicked and it all made sense, right? That wasn't just, oh, I'm going to pick brothers from the community because they come across X, Y, and Z. At first, I'm not going to lie, I said, wow, it's a lot of brothers speaking. And I know some of these brothers, and I don't want to go after them, right?
Yeah.
But when it was all said and done, I was so incredibly full because I said, wow, this was really intentional. It was so intentional. First of all, we were all transparent, and some of the things we even admitted about ourselves were hard to like to admit. But the room was so warm, and that was because these women and these young ladies were not just there in the moment. They're being groomed to be able to not be so jarred by even admissions of like, men aren't perfect. We aren't perfect. But I think the one thing that they walked away with was that we're trying, and there are some men that really do want to get it right. And so to me, I was just grateful to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we were grateful to have all of you, the three of you, and everyone else who participated. I know the girls really enjoyed it, and Miss Charlotte is very grateful. And I look forward to having more of these in the future. But thank you all again as well for taking the time to speak with me today and to let everybody know what they missed, so next time they can make sure they have their girls participate and bring them along as well.
Well,
and thank you to all of you watching.
Thank you.
And we'll
you
be
did
back
an
here.
outstanding job. Good job.
Thank you very much.